Welcome back, everyone, to Buying Local, the podcast. I'm your host, Mike Nelson from Five Towers Media, joined today by Jane Fairchild. And Jane, I'm going to let you introduce who you are and what you do, because I have a tendency to mess things up and I don't want to get it wrong. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, so Jane, go ahead, tell us who you are and what you do.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jane Fairchild, and I am an astrologer. My company is Woman in the Moon, and I always say that we're so used to hearing about the man in the moon, especially as little kids. But I thought, where is that woman in the moon? I will take her on, and I will be that. So that's what I do. I'm an astrologer.
So tell me a little bit about, I think most people know what astrology means, but what does an astrologer do?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, it takes what is called a birth chart and analyzes it. A birth chart is a snapshot of the heavens on the day you were born, the date, month, day, and year, the time of birth, and also your place of birth. And that snapshot of the heavens is exactly as it sounds. It is, I like to call it a roadmap for people. And I, as an astrologer, have studied the planets, their transits and courses, and signs of the zodiac and where they're placed, because that snapshot of you tells the story of what are your themes, what are your cycles, what are you most likely to, how are you presenting in your world? And I'm kind of a bit of a doubter, Mike. Oh, well, I was for
Yeah.
many years. I started studying at the age of 13, and I said, oh, this can't be. And I kept studying, and I kept disproving uh, my, uh, my disbelief in it. And so I really count on it and rely on it to help me help other people really get to the nitty gritty of who they are, and most of all to celebrate the person and the very unique parts that we sometimes forget about or we put it to sleep. And I'm a good reminder when I do a one-on-one reading with a person and their birth chart. I remind them maybe a little bit of that lost part of themselves, and so on. So it's a celebration of the person.
Yeah, can you give me like an example of like what the lost parts, like what that might be?
Sure. So if you can get the picture, the horoscope or that snapshot of the heavens on the moment you were born consists of sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter. And the scope has houses of life that they're dispersed into at that moment. And so that story of you is presented to your parents, so to speak. Not only are you as the baby being presented, in my estimation, it's the story of you is kind of locked in, so to speak. Even though we have free will, but what I find is that people will often say to me, well, I'm really nothing like my sun sign. Like for instance, Mike, when is your birthday?
March 29th.
Okay, so I bet you're a tried and true, enthusiastic hero Aries.
Oh,
Um,
yes, it's kind of a joke actually that I'm the quintessential Aries in pretty much every way, the good ways and the bad ways. So,
oh, okay, so you're a risk taker and you make some real blunders, huh?
oh yes, blunders are my specialty, Jane. I like to
Uh,
actually make those blunders over and over and over again just to really learn the lesson, good 5 or 6 times before I don't want to put my hand on the stove again, so to speak.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I'm surrounded by Aries, Mike, so I'm really familiar with them. Well, there are those in the world that are Aries sun sign, like yourself. You have everything in common with those people who were born around the world on March 29th. It doesn't matter. You're all Aries, right? But then the moon was going through a constellation at the moment you were born. And so were the other planets. And they're stuck. Not stuck. They're placed. They're placed in time. And so what happens oftentimes is, um, and I've done families, like a group of family members, and I can see that the bumps in this family member's head fits the holes in that one. So we get trained to be the Aries. You know, oftentimes the Aries person would be the black sheep of the family.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm a
thus
golden child. I don't know what you're talking about.
oh dear. Um, so so that person might have you know, certain propensities for characteristics of personality. Well, oftentimes there might be someone in the family that the moon was traveling through the sign of Aries the ram on the day they were born. Well, the bumps in your head fit the holes in his head. And so there's a real match there. And so sometimes the sun sign could get a little bit lost or misplaced, or the moon sign is really strong. Sometimes Mars and Venus come together of, you know, the book from, oh my God, I think it was like 35 or 40 years ago. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Oh yeah.
Well, there's a lot to be said about that because the whole Venus Mars in our chart is the feminine Venus, the loving, nurturing, artsy, creative woman. And of course, Mars has been kind of given the role of the action planet. The and Mars rules Aries. Aries is Mars and Mars is Aries. They're one and the same. So the planet Mars in your chart shows, well, how do you take action? What sign did it find itself in at your birth? And so the Venus Mars connection is really an interesting one to look at in every person's chart. And sometimes people will say, well, that Venus in, say, Taurus or Gemini that I had, or Aries, whatever sign it is, that was not promoted in my family. That, you know, I really couldn't rely on that because it really wasn't accepted so much. Um, and then, you know, of course, it's really a wonderful display our charts are of who we are. And I get a front row seat. I get to see, you know, who's living out their destiny, so to speak. Because astrology doesn't predict, Mike. It just tells you about the themes and the cycles that you're a part of and meant to be a part of, like kind of like no mistake.
Mhm.
So, but I do accentuate the expression of a person's birth chart, tell them about it, and they'll say, you know, people will oftentimes say to me, you know, I don't express that, and I'm going to start. Or, you know, or I need to dumb down that moon in Aries because I want to go and rescue damsels in distress. Or the sun is in Aries and I'm gonna, you know, I'm going to rescue the world. So yeah, that's a little bit of how that works.
So I mean, it sounds complex. Like there's a lot of things going on there.
It is, Mike, and I think that's the reason why people don't study to be an astrologer. Um, I studied for many, many years and still do study, so to speak. I learn now through the people and their charts, but I have a good background. And so yes, I've studied it, but I've also been a teacher, and people are so enthusiastic to get into astrology, and then they start to get into it, and it's like, no, oh, wait a minute, and they, like, before you know it, it's like their heads hurt.
Yeah, it
And
sounds like
I understand that.
yeah, sounds like it could be dizzying, just all the information and all the things that you have to look at.
Tremendous information that you have to remember, but it's like anything. I guess I'm so fueled by the possibilities of enlightenment. People, um, Mike, I had a woman, and I have clients all over the world, but there was this woman that I did her chart. Oh, I'll never forget her because she was one of a kind. She was out in St. Louis, and we're halfway through the chart analysis, and a typical chart analysis takes an hour and 15 minutes.
Mhm.
And I'm halfway through, and she starts yelling on the Zoom call with me and yelling like, "This is huge! This is huge!" And I'm like, "What?" She said, "You know me better than my mother knows me." It's like, well, I don't know about that, but and it is kind of surprising. How is it that there is such a tool as a birth chart and a person called an astrologer that can kind of pinpoint things in our lives that have existed, continue to exist, fallen away, um, people, places, and things that have happened, and themes and cycles. So, yeah.
And when you say themes and cycles, do you mean like just things that they recurringly do throughout their life? So they, whether it, I don't know what a good example would be, but sometimes a good theme or a good pattern, that they just keep doing the same thing over and over again, regardless of what kind of result they get.
Yes, yes, that and yes, and many other things on that theme that you just mentioned. What I see with people, and this is what I so love about astrology, Mike, is that um, your bumps, bruises, and warts will show up in your birth chart
Mhm.
because these are the very things you were meant to work on in your life. So I get excited because I say to people, don't don't be forlorn, upset at all, because you were meant to be an overcomer in this field, this cycle, this life cycle. And you're given many different opportunities with the transits of the planets going around our charts, because we all have opportunities. Some come every other year, some come maybe there are a couple planets that only hit the same spot that woke us up, but maybe we only half learned the lesson. And so we got to wait 28 years before it comes around again, or 12 years, or 7 years, whatever the case might be. But what I think is so hopeful is that there are the cycles, we're part of them, and it's okay that we're here to learn lessons. That's how we grow. So there's no shame, there's no blame. Are there astrologers out there that will scare you? Oh, certainly. Um, I don't think that the tool of astrology and analysis of it is not meant for that at all. If anything, it's like, I am so hopeful. It's like, you bet you should be hopeful. So,
Oh, what do
yeah.
you mean? What do you mean scare you? Like what is that? Like how would they scare you with your book?
Oh, okay. For instance, this past weekend, I did a chart analysis of a couple, and the husband it was a husband and wife that sat with me for a couple of hours. And this particular man had the planet Saturn in his first house of life. I know. Well, what is she talking about? Well, to kind of boil that down, Saturn is the planet of restrictions, life's lessons. Um, we may start out as premature dummies, uh, in that we have a lot to learn.
Hmm.
And Saturn will tell you, Saturn in your chart will tell you, here's the arena, the house of life. There are 12 of them. There are 12 signs of the zodiac. There are 12 houses of life that have their themes. And so if you are with that snapshot of the heavens on the minute you were born, you know what that is. I have it in front of me, and I see that you, for instance, have Saturn in the first house. Now, I wouldn't wish that on anyone because it's a big challenge. Now, can you pick up a book or Google Saturn in the first house? Well, there are some astrologers that'll really scare you big time and say, your struggles are so many, you're going to want to give up on your life. And it's like, ugh, I have no patience with that. But I'm telling you, I've got a library of books, and probably a quarter of them are scary. And people read them or whatever, and they scare themselves. Or again, you can go on Google and find certain astrologers that will say scary things. Now, me, um, yes, it's the Saturn is the grand teacher of life's lessons. And if we're patient enough, because Saturn is always trying to um, dispense patience, and hopefully we'll get a little bit of it. The first house for this particular person in their chart that they were born with, um, the first house is the house of me, I, numero uno. And so it's very personal. And it's like, and I'll usually say something like, okay, who was the heavy in your family? Was it mom or dad? And because Saturn in the first house usually is it indicates a parent that you grew up with that had a thumb on you, always strict, keeping track of you, maybe being overly critical. But again, we're here to be overcomers. So it's like, you bet one foot in front of the other, Saturn says. Study your afflictions and you'll get somewhere. Pay attention and so on. So, yeah,
So it's kind of giving you clues on how to, do better or be better.
without a doubt. And then we're a part of the life cycle of the sun, the moon, and all the planets in their transits throughout the sky. And astrology is very mathematical. And before the days of computers, astrologers, myself included, had to rely on graphs that were printed with certain mathematics assigned to each placement of the planet in your particular chart. And so that took some time. And luckily, we don't have to do that anymore. Everything is computerized. But so that, those days, are gone with having to struggle with that. But as the transits of the planets in the sky happen to us, they come along and they activate certain parts of our chart. And then before you know it, something happens. I will tell people, Mike, that I'm going to tell you what theme or cycle that you're in. I'm the subject matter expert on astrology. You're the subject matter expert on you. I will tell you what this time in your life, whether it's a 3 day period, a 3 week, 3 month, or 3 year period, I will tell you what it looks like, talks like, walks like. You are going to give it life and purpose, and you will make sense out of it just from my words. And I'll give you that time frame of which you're under that energy that we're meant to get. Um, so, as above, so below.
Okay. Um, I'm thinking about it. It sounds to me like part of what you do for folks is to help them interpret the information they're getting. Is that a fair statement?
No, exactly, because we're all part of these life cycles, and we're none of us are the same, really. We might have a few things in common with our neighbors here and there, our friends, our family members, but even family members, it's like, no, no, nobody in your entire family has ever had the planet Saturn in their birth chart in the first house of life. So what I have to say to that person is like, no, you can't, maybe you can't turn to anyone and say, well, here is my astrological theme that I was put here on earth to overcome and to really be victorious over it. So, and, just, I guess, coming to acceptance about that, um, because it's really good news. But, I think, Mike, as humans, like, we're all into, well, where's my pleasure today? I'm always looking for pleasure. That's what we're wired for, right? And so nobody wants to learn too many lessons. Like, heck, what fun is that? But
Unless you're
yeah.
an Aries, I guess. I mean, I really enjoy the overcoming of the obstacles.
Yes, but Mike, I also know that as an Aries, you get bored easily.
Oh God, too easily, too easily.
I know, but that's okay. I mean, leave the details up to the Virgos and the Capricorns and the Taurus people, the earth signs. You fire signs are like hit and run. And we need you for exactly that.
Yeah,
So you're on to the next venture.
we're gonna have to work on how to incorporate this into our hiring strategies as the
Oh
company
my
gets.
oh my God. Mike, I there are some people's charts I come across and I'll look at them and I'll say, I have to tell you something. I would hire you in a second. You get the job done, you stay the course, you are one foot in front of the other, and I want to congratulate you on that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, my farm right now is probably 20 different unfinished projects because of that whole hit and run. I start something, get bored with it, move on to something else. Because the beginning
Oh,
is the most exciting time, Jane.
absolutely. And it's how it should be. Your wife may want to, brain you and hit you with a hammer in the head or something, or your kids or your next door neighbor, but you got to keep being you.
Um, I know you mentioned excuse me. You mentioned that you kind of started getting into this when you're like 13, so you're a young child. What
Yeah.
at what point did you turn it into like a business?
Well, it's funny. Almost almost right away, because and I kind of marvel at this. I started having speaking engagements in front of groups, even as a teenager. I went to a very progressive school in Troy, New York, which is hilarious because it was a Catholic school. But we had this principal who is so progressive. And for a day, people could come and take a class from me. Students, my own classmates could come and take sign up in hour segments and take a class from me. So, it's just funny. You find yourself where you find yourself, wherever you go, there you are. Um, and then I kind of got college in my system, it was kind of coursing through my blood. And I said, I think I want to be like a real true professional. I don't want to be a soothsayer. I want to be someone I can be proud of. Of course, you can tell when I was born, the wind blowing through your hair too much. You don't want to stray too far from home. And so I became a mortgage advisor in my 20s. So for 25 years, I was doing exactly that. I was the astrologer behind the scenes who approved mortgages. It's like, what? And it's like, well, yes, well, of course, I was born with the moon in Capricorn, which is the sign of entrepreneurship in the eighth house of other people's money. So, and you can laugh at that. And God knows we have to laugh in life, right? But so that's what I did. But all the time I kept doing people's charts, sitting with them, making side money with it. And probably about 11 years ago, yeah, I'd kind of had it with the long hours of working. Of course, that meant I was making money, but still, and the creative bug bit me.
Hmm.
And plus, I had two entrepreneurs. One was a CEO. One was a senior VP at a big pharmaceutical company in the U.S., whose chart I had looked at and analyzed and stuff. And both of them in the same week, Mike said to me, "You missed your calling. You should you should just do this." And I listened. I would threaten to quit throughout the years here and there when things would get kind of dicey, but I never would. And my kids were grown and so on. And I said, yeah, it is time. And so that's what I did. And I hung my shingle out and never looked back. And I'm so glad I did. It's so creative and meaningful to me.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you get to help people too, which is always nice, right?
I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble hearing. What was that?
Yeah, I just said I was like, it sounds like you get to help people too, which is always nice.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I do. I do because again, to me it's that getting people back in touch a little bit with the lost self
Hmm.
or the lost pieces that they kind of put to rest because it wasn't acceptable to somebody. It's like,
Yeah.
oh heck no, we got to take that out and dust it off and say, bring it on.
Do you, when it comes to birth charts, do you just like, if you do one when you're 20, does it change or is it like rock solid? So, like, would you do more than one birth chart
You
over the,
know, I have to apologize. I thought it was a good idea to come outside and sit down, except for there was a motorhead that just went by. I don't even know if you could hear it. So could you repeat that?
Yeah, no, that's okay. I was just wondering if the birth charts change over time or if they stay the same. So if you did one when you're 20, should you do another one later on in life, or do you get one done and that's your birth chart for life?
Oh, well, okay, so here's how it goes. The birth chart is forever the birth chart. It is it does not change. It is stationary. It is truly that snapshot
Hmm.
of the heavens. What does change is that we're part of an energy cluster, and now of course it really helps, Mike, that in 2025 we're learning so much about the mind body connection. We're learning about, we're all just energy, and when we leave the planet we all keep shining on, like John Lennon said. um and so what happens to us as we go through life, because I have clients that come to me like every 6 months, um, and they'll come back either for, kind of to re-verify and to maybe rediscover something else, that I said or whatever. People, so the transits are constantly happening, and we are, some people sleep through a certain transit that another person will bug out about or get excited about. Um, so again, we're subject to the same transits, but they don't mean the same thing to every one of us. That because we are individuals.
Yeah. It was just funny too. My wife had one done years ago before we were
Oh,
dating,
did
and
she?
yeah. And but it's like scarily accurate in a lot of ways. Like,
Was it?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it really is. I mean, God, it must have been like maybe 6 or 7 years ago now when she had me look at it. But yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild how
It
like,
is. Yeah. When's your wife's birthday?
oh, put me on the spot there. December 17th.
Oh, how perfect. Wow. Are you a match made in heaven or what? I think so.
Fitting in
She's a
the star.
Sagittarian.
Yeah, is
She
that
gives
right?
you a run for your money, doesn't she?
Oh, yes, she does. She's a powerhouse for sure.
That's good. That's good. You know you're alive, right?
Yes, yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, so the process that you go through with people, Jane, what does that look like? Someone wants to get a birth chart. What's the next step or the first step?
Yeah, sure. Well, people can call me. They can, text me. They can go on to my website, and there's a place where they can hit a button, and it'll send me an email of get in touch with me. Um, so, yeah, many different ways. My website is astrologicalbirthcharts.com or ABC, astrologicalbirthcharts.com. And you can look me up under Jane Fairchild, Woman in the Moon, and so on. I'm on Facebook as well. So yeah, I love new clients and would love to do anyone's chart.
Yeah. So they start the process with you, and then obviously they need to know their date of birth and what time. And
Yep.
then what happens from there? You take that information and what do you do with it?
Yeah, so yep, I get the date, time, and place of birth, and I bring up their chart. I print it up. I send them a copy. Some people, are not close to me physically in upstate New York, so we do a Zoom or something like that. Although I have, traveled a little bit, especially I do a lot of groups as well, and that's great fun, Mike. Especially to get a group of, 8, 10, 18, 24 people, it doesn't even matter. I've done as high as 28 people. And of course you don't get the personalized reading, but the one-on-one, when I do that, it's either in person. I mean, I meet people at their home. They can come to my office, which is in my home, and or we go to a cafe locally, get a private little table, and you know, it it works.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, because when you're doing the individual birth chart, it's an extensive amount of information, right? Like I'm thinking of Kristen's, and it was like pages and pages of information.
No, what I do is, so I should have had a birth chart with me to show you. It's simply one page. It's
Oh,
a
okay.
scope. It's a scope much like this scope right here. It's divvied into, I don't know, can you see that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
It's divvied into 12 different segments, 12 houses of life. with the different signs of the zodiac and so on. And so it's one page. I suggest to people that they either record it, take notes, or listen. I write things on that page, that's horoscope snapshot, especially the main things that I really want to get across to people that I think is so beautiful, outstanding, whatever it is, or things that they want to be conscious of, in my opinion. So it's, I'm getting across my message and my analysis, verbally, and people, like I said, can record it.
Okay. All right. Um, well, I guess if you're doing over Zoom, probably makes it even easier because you can record it like we are, right? So,
Yes, yes. I can record it, they can record it. I can send it to people as well. So, yeah. It was great during COVID. I really kept pretty busy.
I bet. Yeah. People
I
had free time.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah, COVID really put the Zoom platform on the map for sure.
And I'll say one other thing is that people enjoy is, your small to mid-sized companies will hire me to do, I guess, what I would call team building. And because how often are you working with someone, especially, if you're have a group of like more than say 6 people,
Mhm.
you're probably not going to know the person in HR, like maybe you know the person next to you or a couple of desks, or offices apart. So and we all have, I'm going to say, laughable charts. I mean, don't get me going. Somebody who has Venus in Virgo, it's like, oh God, let me guess. You have a partner, and that partner can't come into the bed until they brush their teeth and flossed? Really? You know, because that's the propensity and the attention to detail and hygiene and out and out, paranoia of germs, or, and is that, is it fair to say that people who are Virgos, are like a walking medicine cabinet? It's like, well, no, of course it's not fair, but could it be accurate? Oftentimes,
Mhm.
and someone with Venus in Virgo, they want their partners to be fastidious and detailed, like, you're doing things right, aren't you? By the book. Yes, tell me. So,
It's really interesting how accurate the signs of the zodiac are. In probably most cases, I mean, I obviously don't want to say all, but in most cases I've ever seen, with what I'm going to say little I know about signs of the zodiac, though, they always seem to be pretty on point with your personality and some of the ways that you do things. It is pretty cool.
yeah, yeah, no, it's true, and it's I have a lot of fun as well, especially in the groups, because there might be someone who appears to be kind of steady and sturdy and quiet, and they don't really show themselves. They're not open. They don't wear their hearts on their sleeve. And it's like, but they might have a couple of planets in Scorpio. And it's like, I'll say, you are hot stuff. You are like undeniable, like steaming hot, you know? And they'll be like, how did who told you that? You know? Uh,
That's funny. Yeah, it kind of gives you a look under the hood to see what's really going on, right?
I like that, Mike. I think I'm going to use that. Looking
Hey,
under the hood.
you're welcome to it. It's not mine. I'm sure I stole it from someone else. So.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Jane, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show and talk to me and give some information to our listeners. If you wouldn't mind, give us one more time how people can get a hold of you.
Sure, sure. Many different ways, through my website, which is astrological birth charts, plural, ABC. My phone number is 518 area code 641-2738. And my email, I have two of them, but I'm going to give you the short email is Jane is over the moon at gmail.com.
That's
So
awesome.
text me, call me, send out a flare. I'll get it.
You get it. And you're on social media. I think you said you're on Facebook.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, Facebook and Instagram as well.
Awesome.
Um, I don't promote myself enough, but I'm starting to. Mike is helping me.
Working on it. You know it. Well, thanks again, Jane. I really appreciate you coming
Thank
on the
you.
show.
It's
And of
such a
course,
pleasure. Big
yeah.
pleasure. Thank you.
And
Bye,
thank you.
everybody.
Thanks everyone for listening to the show. Of course, you can find us at buyinglocal.us and listen to us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and Rumble. Thanks for listening, everybody, and you'll hear from us next week.